Hello everyone, I have another video for you today. I have 2 more Reddit stories. I hope you enjoy. Here is the title of the first story. I discovered my husband's affair. And I'm the prime suspect. Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd be posting here, but I need to get this off my chest. My name is Emily, 32F, and my life has completely fallen apart. My sister, Claire, 29F, and I have always been close, at least I thought we were. And then there's Jimmy, 35M. My husband, the man I thought I would spend my life with. But nothing could have prepared me for the ultimate betrayal. It started on a normal Sunday afternoon. Our mother had invited the whole family over for dinner, something she had been doing every month since we became adults. Claire showed up late, her face slightly flushed, avoiding eye contact with me. I thought nothing of it, she was always running late. Then I saw Jimmy, my husband, texting someone under the table. Again, nothing unusual, until I caught a glimpse of the name on his phone, Claire. My stomach twisted. I told myself I was overreacting. They were family, after all. But something didn't sit right with me. The way Claire barely spoke to me that night. The way Jimmy kept glancing at her when he thought I wasn't looking. The way my heart started pounding with a fear I couldn't explain. That night, after Jimmy had fallen asleep, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked his phone. The messages were vague but undeniable. We need to stop this. She's starting to notice. I can't help it. I think about you all the time. You know how I feel about you. I stared at the screen, my vision blurring. My husband. My sister. They were having an affair. I felt like I was going to be sick. My hands were shaking so badly that I nearly dropped the phone. My mind raced. How long had this been going on? Did my mother know? Did everyone know except me? I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, while Jimmy slept peacefully beside me, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. The next morning, I confronted Claire. I met her at a coffee shop, needing to be away from Jimmy when I did it. She looked guilty the second she saw me. How long? I asked, my voice shaking. She didn't even try to deny it. 6 months. My sister said 6 months. Half a year. My own sister. I expected tears, apologies, excuses. But instead, she said something that made my blood run cold. You were never supposed to find out. Like that made it better. Like that meant it wasn't real. I slapped her. Hard. The entire coffee shop went silent, but I didn't care. She had taken everything from me. My husband. My trust. My sense of security. I stormed out, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do. I thought about calling my mom, but what would she say? What could she possibly say that would make this better? I went home, packed a bag, and left. I didn't say a word to Jimmy. I didn't give him the chance to explain. There was nothing to explain, but that's not even the worst part. A week later, Claire called me. I almost didn't answer, but something in me wanted to hear her suffer. Wanted to hear her beg for forgiveness, but she didn't. You need to come home, she said, her voice uncharacteristically small. Why the hell would I do that? Because Jimmy is missing. I froze. What? He disappeared 2 nights ago. No one's seen him. The police are asking questions. I couldn't breathe. Jimmy was missing? How? Why? And then Claire said something that made my blood turn to ice. Emily, they think you did something to him. I dropped the phone. I barely slept that night. My mind was a hurricane of fear, anger, and confusion. Why would the police think I had anything to do with Jimmy's disappearance? Had Claire said something? Had she set me up? The next morning, I forced myself to go back home. I couldn't avoid it any longer. The second I pulled up to the driveway, I saw 2 police cars parked outside. My heart pounded as I stepped out of my car. A detective approached me, his eyes scanning me like he was reading my every move. Emily Carter? We need to ask you a few questions about your husband. I nodded stiffly and let them inside. They asked when I had last seen Jimmy, if we had fought, if I had noticed anything unusual. I answered as calmly as I could, but my stomach was in knots. Then one of the officers said something that sent a shiver down my spine. His car was found abandoned near a lake outside of town. No sign of a struggle. Just gone. A deep, uneasy feeling settled in my chest. This didn't make sense. If Jimmy had run away, why would he leave his car like that? And if something had happened to him, who else could have done it? Then Claire spoke up from across the room. "Emily," she said slowly, her voice almost hesitant. "There's something I didn't tell you." I turned to her sharply. "What?" She swallowed hard. "The night Jimmy disappeared, he came to see me. He was panicked. He said someone was following him." My breath caught. "What do you mean someone was following him?" "I don't know," she said, voice rising. "He just kept saying that he messed up. That she was after him. My blood ran cold." "Did he say who?" Claire hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, he said her name was Anna." The room spun. My hands went ice cold. Anna wasn't just some random woman. Anna was Jimmy's ex-wife, and she had been dead for 3 years. I felt my knees weaken. The detective looked between us. "Who is Anna?" I whispered. "Jimmy's ex-wife. She died in a car accident 3 years ago. He identified the body himself. I was with him. We buried her." Claire's face became pale. "Then how the hell was she following him?" I couldn't answer. My heart hammered against my ribs. Either Jimmy had been lying to me for years, or something much more terrifying was happening. "Emily," the detective said, pulling me from my thoughts. "We need you to come to the station. We have more questions." I knew arguing was pointless, so I agreed. But as I got into their car, something in my gut told me that I wasn't just dealing with a missing person case. I was dealing with something far, far worse. The next day, my world shattered even more. They found a security camera near the lake. The footage showed Jimmy parking his car and getting out. Then, clear as day, a woman walked up to him. Long dark hair. Pale skin. Familiar. It was Anna. I could hardly breathe as I watched the grainy footage. There she was, Anna, standing in front of Jimmy. The same Anna I had seen at her funeral 3 years ago. But here she was alive. Smiling. As if the time between the accident and this moment hadn't even passed. Jimmy didn't look shocked. He looked relieved. He looked calm. The footage cut off before anything else happened, but that was enough to send my mind reeling. There were no words for what I was feeling. My stomach churned, and I was filled with the cold, gnawing feeling of dread. Jimmy had always told me that he'd never gotten over Anna. He'd never been able to fully close that chapter of his life, even after everything. I'd known that, of course, but I never thought it would come back to haunt us in this way. Seeing her, alive, meant something was wrong. Something beyond the realm of simple explanation. Was it possible he'd been hallucinating? Or was this some sick joke he had been playing on me all along? But then my mind went back to the text I had found on his phone. The way he'd confessed his feelings to Claire. If he had been seeing Anna, maybe he had been keeping it a secret from everyone. But no. There was something far darker at play here. The detective brought me back to the station that day for further questioning, but it felt like they were less interested in finding Jimmy than in making sure I wasn't involved in his disappearance. The more questions they asked, the more they looked at me with suspicion. It was suffocating. I knew the trail was leading me nowhere, and all I could do was sit there, trapped in this nightmare. At home that night, I found myself staring at the walls, trying to piece things together. The twist in all of this was far more terrifying than I could ever have imagined. What if Jimmy hadn't been having an affair with Claire? What if he was caught up in something far more sinister? Something from his past that was far from over. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I couldn't stop myself. The texts. The secret meetings. The strange behavior. And now this footage, showing Anna alive. It was all too much. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. I almost didn't answer it, but something in me urged me to. I opened the door to find a woman I didn't recognize, standing in the pouring rain. She was in her early 30s, pale, with dark hair that cascaded down her back. Her eyes were wide, desperate. She asked in a trembling voice, "Are you Emily?" I nodded cautiously. "Who are you?" "My name's Anna," she said. "I've been trying to find you. I need your help." I felt the ground slip beneath me. Anna, the real Anna, was standing in front of me, alive. And she was asking for help. Why didn't you come forward sooner? Why did you let us think you were dead?" I demanded, trying to hold my composure. Her face crumpled with guilt. "Because I couldn't. I was trying to protect Jimmy from what he was involved in. There's a lot you don't know about him. I had to fake my death to get away from him. I felt the blood drain from my face. What are you talking about? She took a deep breath and looked over her shoulder nervously. I'm not the one you need to worry about anymore. Jimmy's life, it's in danger, and I need your help to find him before it's too late. I barely managed to keep my voice steady. Why? What's going on? What is he mixed up in? Anna hesitated for a long moment before speaking. Jimmy didn't just lose me in a car accident. I was part of something darker. Something he's been hiding from you. He was involved in a cult. I was the one who tried to get out of it, and they wanted to make sure I wouldn't expose them. So they staged my death. My mind was spinning. A cult? Jimmy had been involved in something like that? It was impossible, and yet here I was, listening to Anna tell me that everything I knew about my husband had been a lie. She wasn't dead. She had faked it to protect herself from something more sinister, something far beyond what any of us could have imagined. And now he's missing. Anna continued, her voice growing more urgent. They've taken him. You need to help me find him before they do something worse. A sick realization hit me. This wasn't just about a broken marriage or a cheating husband. This was about something far more dangerous. Something that could destroy everything. And then Anna dropped a bombshell. Jimmy's not the only one they've been watching. They've been watching you as well. That's why, the girl he has been seeing. She wasn't just sleeping with him. She's involved with them. My blood ran cold. The twist wasn't just the affair. It was that my sister Claire, the one who I had thought was the victim, was also part of this twisted web. And now, my life was tied to something far darker than I could have ever imagined. That is the end of the first story. What an absolute cliffhanger. There are no more updates. Hopefully, the post will get an update sometime in the future. I really wanted to hear the end of that. Let's get to the next story. Here is the title. I found a key in my grandfather's house. What it unlocked changed everything. I always believed that family was everything. Blood was thicker than water. That no matter what happened, we would always have each other. But I was wrong. Horribly, painfully wrong. My name is Jessica, and this is the story of how I uncovered a secret that shattered my family forever. It all started when my grandfather passed away. He had been the patriarch of our family, a strong, proud man who held us together like glue. When he died, everything started falling apart. My mother, devastated, took on the responsibility of sorting through his estate, but there was one thing that puzzled her, an old key labeled, for Jessica. It was a small, rusted key, and no one in the family knew what it opened. My mother gave it to me with a sad smile, saying, "Maybe he meant for you to find something." I was both confused and intrigued. My grandfather and I had always been close, but why would he leave something specifically for me? And why not tell me about it while he was alive? The mystery gnawed at me until I finally decided to investigate. My grandparents' house was still untouched since his passing, and I searched through every drawer, every cabinet, every possible hiding place where a locked box might be. Nothing. Then I remembered the basement. Growing up, I was never allowed down there. It was my grandfather's personal space, and he always told me it was too dangerous for kids. Now that I was older, I realized how ridiculous that was. It was just a basement, or so I thought. I descended the creaky wooden steps, the air thick with dust and age. The basement was cluttered with old furniture and boxes, but in the farthest corner, half hidden under a dusty tarp, I found a wooden chest with an old brass lock. My heart pounded as I slipped the key into the lock. It clicked open easily, as if it had been waiting for me all these years. Taking a deep breath, I lifted the lid. Inside, there were stacks of letters, faded photographs, and a bundle of old documents. At first, they looked like nothing more than sentimental keepsakes, until I read the first letter. My hands shook as I took in the words. It was a love letter, written by my grandfather to a woman named Margaret. Margaret. I had never heard of her before. And as I read further, my stomach twisted with realization. My grandfather had been in love with another woman. For years. Decades. The letters spanned over 40 years, hidden away in this chest. I pulled out one of the photographs, and my breath caught in my throat. It was a picture of my grandfather with a young woman, holding a baby that wasn't my mother. I frantically dug through the documents until I found what I was dreading: a birth certificate. A child born to Margaret and my grandfather. A son. My grandfather had another child. My mother had a half-brother. And no one in our family knew. I didn't know what to do. Should I tell my mother? Should I pretend I never found this? My grandfather had taken this secret to his grave, but now it was in my hands. Why? Why was he telling me? And why now? I couldn't keep it to myself. That night, I sat my mother down and showed her everything. Her face went pale as she read the letters, her fingers trembling as she traced the name on the birth certificate. I don't understand," she whispered. He never said a word. I hesitated before asking the question that had been burning in my mind. "Do you think Grandma knew?" Her eyes darkened. "She had to. You don't keep a secret like this for 40 years without slipping up." A sinking feeling settled in my gut. If my grandmother had known, that meant she had spent her entire marriage living a lie. Pretending. Covering up. I thought that was the worst of it. But I was wrong. The next day, my mother and I decided to track down my grandfather's secret son. It took some digging, but we eventually found a name: Thomas Whitaker. He lived only a few towns away. We debated reaching out, unsure of how to even start such a conversation. But fate decided for us. The day after we found his name, a letter arrived at our house. From Thomas Whitaker. It simply said, "I know who you are. I know what you found. We need to talk." I felt a chill run down my spine. How did he know? Had my grandfather reached out to him before he died? Had he been waiting for us to uncover the truth? We met Thomas at a small diner in town. He was in his 50s, tall, with my grandfather's same piercing blue eyes. When he saw us, he gave a sad smile. "I was wondering when you'd find me. Did you know about us?" my mother asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Thomas nodded. "My mother told me the truth before she passed. She and your father, our father, had a complicated love. He never left your mother, but he never left mine either. He provided for us in secret, but he always belonged to both families." My mother looked sick. "So Grandma did know," Thomas confirmed. "She did, and she made sure my mother never came near your family." The betrayal was like a knife in my chest. My grandmother, the woman I had admired my entire life, had spent decades ensuring that her husband's other family remained hidden. She had erased them from existence in our lives. But Thomas wasn't finished. Before he died, he wrote me a letter. He told me where to find you. I exchanged a glance with my mother. "Why now? Why not tell us himself?" Thomas sighed. "Because he was afraid. He didn't want to destroy the life he had built with you. But in the end, he knew the truth had to come out." I didn't know what to say. My grandfather, the man who taught me about honesty and integrity, had lived a double life. My grandmother, the matriarch of our family, had kept the secret buried for decades. And now, we had a stranger sitting across from us who was our blood. The strangest part? I didn't hate him. I wanted to know him, so we did. We talked. We listened. And in the end, we left that diner knowing our family would never be the same. Some betrayals are loud and violent, breaking families apart in an instant. Ours was quiet, hidden in old letters and locked boxes, waiting for the right key to open the past. And once we did, there was no going back. That is the end of the story. If I lived my whole life and out of nowhere I had a long-lost sibling, I wouldn't even know what to think. I would be so scared to talk to them. I hope you enjoyed the stories today. There is a link in the description for my Reddit Stories playlist. Go watch them if you like. Have a great day.